Charlie Cox, aka Daredevil himself, recently confirmed he will be returning to the MCU down the road, and that there is a future for Daredevil in more Marvel content. Now the actor elaborates on some of the hopes he has in terms of what he hopes he returns to do, and one of the things is a relationship with Black Widow like in the comics. So this came from a recent interview with Comic Book, where Charlie Cox was talking a little bit about his return in Spider-Man No Way Home, and of course what the future holds. And he wanted to discuss the next chapter of Daredevil's journey, specifically as it relates to the MCU, him returning and now playing in the bigger Marvel playground. And he says that if he looks at the comics, there's a lot of interesting stuff there, but one aspect he really likes is the Daredevil and Black Widow stuff that they did, specifically their relationship, and how it was one of those funny things. Now, if you guys have read that, it is something it is a little humorous when you really think about it, and how both of these characters kind of play off of one another and what they do there, and also how everything can kind of tie it back to the bigger Marvel world, especially now that they have Daredevil. Now, of course, Black Widow, well, at least Natasha is dead, so what exactly would you do? And clearly you could do flashbacks, but again, what would be the point? Do we get a Black Widow 2 with Scarlett Johansson where she teams up with Daredevil? Like, that's kind of a major step back for both characters. Do you do Daredevil and a new Black Widow? Like, do you bring Yelena into that? I think that's also a little weird, considering a major gap between the two's age, so again, I don't think that necessarily works, but I think you can find a way to kind of hint towards that relationship, or a secret aspect of it, or something that happened where he did interact with her and you can kind of play that off, or who knows what other spy characters or maybe multiple Black Widows will show up in the MCU. You know, there's plenty of them, right? So pick and choose. And he also did say that there's plenty of other things he wishes that his characters got to do and characters he got to interact with, but to him, it's the Black Widow stuff that really intrigues him. And honestly, I really do hope that they can work something in there. You know, you don't even have to really, I don't think, like, show it per se, but you can talk about it. You can have people being like, wait, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, Natasha mentioned that once. We just didn't believe her. It's like, yeah, that's me. Yep, we teamed up here or there occasionally when she needed something and I knew what to do. Like, you can drop that in there, and then if there's enough demand, maybe do a flashback or something when you can afford it a little more, since Scarlett Johansson is working with Disney and actively working on Marvel content. I think you could, you know, persuade her to do something. But overall, it's a step back in my opinion, but if they were able to find a way to at least do a couple flashbacks, I'd be okay with it. Just kind of establish that these characters in the MCU knew of the other characters, like they did with Eleanor and Kingpin, for example. You know, right after the attack in New York, we saw she went straight to Kingpin. So that scene effectively took place right there after what happened in Avengers. So, like, it lines up, so they could technically do that.